Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of the DC Capstone Report. We are so glad that you are tuning in and listening to our podcast this 2024 Alabama football season. Lance and I just want to thank you. Lance Shores and I, we work on this podcast weekly. Lance does a great job of getting everything done in the studio, and we are just amazed at the number of people that reached out to us or played our podcast or listened to it. Just amazing to see the number of plays that we're getting on social media. I think at last podcast, our first one of the fall, got over 2,000 plays. So we are so excited about this upcoming season, and thank you that you get to tune in with us and listen to me discuss Alabama football. So again, I want to thank Lance Shores for all he does. I want to thank our sponsors. His sites, RollTideBama.com, FreelancePictures.com. Go out and look at his sites. Get some great Alabama football content. And as always, I want to thank my sponsor, Karen Cottingham, Realtor, right here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, with the Williams Group at Keller Williams. She is a real estate agent that can handle all your real estate needs throughout the state of Alabama. So if you can reach out and contact her at 205-887-4008 and tell her you heard about her here on the DC Capstone Report. Well, today on the podcast, we're going to take a look at fall camp again. And this week we're going to concentrate on the offense. And so in our first segment, we're going to look at the line, offensive line and tight ends. In our second segment, we're going to concentrate on the skill positions at the QB, wide receiver, and running back room. And then in our third and final segment, we're going to look at some players to watch on the offense coming out of fall camp.
You're listening to the DC Capstone Report. The DC Capstone Report is featured each Tuesday morning on the Martin Houston Show at Tide 100.9. You can listen live at Tide100.9.com.
Well, welcome back to the DC Capstone Report. Here in the first segment, we're going to be dialing in on the offense in this podcast today. So looking at our offense. So let's just talk just briefly an overview of what some things we can look for, and then we're going to dive in this first segment on our line and tight end. But just an overview, this offensive scheme is going to be different than we've had in the past. Caleb DeBoer is going to bring in a different type of offense. You got Nick Sheridan, the offensive coordinator, running that. And everything we've seen in fall camp and in the times that we've been allowed to go into practices or the scrimmage this past week and the fan day on Sunday, it appears that this offense is really hitting on all cylinders. It's going to be an exciting offense. Going to be different than what we expected. We're going to spread the field. Run more of a spread formation, but there's going to be a lot of opportunities for explosive plays, big yardage. There's also going to be times where we're going to be able to run with the line that we have and gain a lot of yards as well. So overall, I think Caleb DeBoer has a really good offensive game plan in mind. Now, some people were a little questionable about his press conference right after the scrimmage this past week. This Saturday he has a press conference and after the scrimmage, and he didn't give too much information with the scrimmage, but I'm not surprised by that at all. You know, people have gotten used to, and the media and us that report on Alabama football have gotten used to a little more information this year by being able to see things and that sort of thing. But we also were used to Coach Saban giving us some statistics and things that happened coming out of a fall camp scrimmage. But we didn't get that in this game. We had to go on what we saw and what others saw and what others reported. And I think the reason is this offense is new, is something that people have never seen from Alabama. And I believe that Coach DeBoer is playing it close to the vest as to what he has and the offensive weapons that he has going into the season. So in order to talk about that, let's start where it all starts, up front with the line of scrimmage. Gary Shores, the person that helped me start this podcast, my best friend, he was an offensive lineman, and he always told me that everything on the football field on offense started with the line. If you had a bad line or mistakes on the line, it caused everybody else to have problems. So I just want to kind of go into what we think the line is going to be and how it's going to work out. Well, one of the things we know in the last few practices and scrimmages is that Caden Proctor has pretty much secured his starting job back at left tackle that he had last year. You know, he transferred away to Iowa, transferred back before ever playing for them. And he's been fighting a battle there at the left tackle spot, try to gain his starting job back. And it seems like he has done just that. At the tackle position, we've had three people fighting for those left and right tackle positions this year so far in fall camp. That's been Caden Proctor, Wilkin Formby, and Elijah Pritchett. And it looks like that Caden Proctor has won the battle at left tackle, and he'll be your starting left tackle, which everything I've seen about him in the practices looks like he's just different this year than last year. I think that individually he's leaned up a little bit. His reaction time is better, and I just see him being able to be a solid left tackle for us in this Kalen DeBoer offense. At guard, at left guard, it looks like that is just solidified to be Tyler Booker. It's always great to have a veteran like Tyler Booker playing on the line right next to Caden Proctor. So I think that's going to be a solid performer. You can't say enough good things about him. He has actually slimmed up his body. He's faster, he's quicker, he's got more power, more burst. And I really think that he's going to solidify that on the left side with Caden Proctor and Tyler Booker. Now at center is Parker Brailsford. He's a little lighter than some of our other linemen, but he transferred in from Washington, has the ability to know the offense, has been a critical voice in that offensive lineman room that's helped all the linemen come up to speed on what the Kalen DeBoer offense requires of a lineman. He's very smart, knows the plays, and I think that he'll be really good about getting us in and out of the right lineman blocking combination. So I think at center, he's going to be the center. So Parker Brailsford, look for him at the center position to do really good this year. And then on your right guard, Jaden Roberts. Can't say enough about Jaden Roberts. He has gotten stronger, if you can believe that. He can pick up the entire weight room, just going over, setting records all around in the fourth quarter program. But Jaden Roberts is a mauler, and I believe that it may just be the best right guard in football, college football this year. So I think we got a really, really good set of those so far, from left tackle all the way over to right guard. The question mark seems to be at right tackle. Who's going to win the job? And folks, it's been close. Wilkin Formby has really put up a good fight at both the left tackle and the right tackle position. And Elijah Pritchett has really done well this year in fall camp. So we've had both Elijah Pritchett and Wilkin Formby. Who is going to win that starting right tackle position? It's kind of up in the air right now. But I think we're in good hands with either one of them that were to win that battle at right tackle. I believe Elijah Pritchett, in my opinion, based on what I've seen, may be just a little ahead of Wilkin Formby, but not much, since Wilkin Formby still has the opportunity to start. So I don't think I can make a call right now who will be the first right tackle to run out there against Western Kentucky. But I do think I can make a call on this. I think we'll see all three of those tackles play in most of the games this year. I think that it's great to have someone that you can bring in to kind of give the guys a rest. And I believe Wilkin Formby and Elijah Pritchett and Caden Proctor can play at any of the tackle positions and give Alabama a good start this year. So who's behind them on that line? Who can we look to? Well, I think the first name off the list on who's going to come in is somebody named Gino Vandermark. Gino Vandermark is a transfer that came in out of Michigan State, played a lot of games, and I would call him what's the Swiss Army knife on the offensive line. He can play any of the interior positions. He does a great job at guard. He does a great job at center. So I think he's going to be your backup center. I think he's also going to be a backup at guard. And I think you'll see him move along the line and other people move in different positions if need be. But I think Gino Vandermark is the first lineman that's off the board when someone needs to come in on that interior. I think you'll see him come in. But I'm hearing great things from other young talent behind these starters. We talked about Wilkin Formby, but you got Olas Alian at left guard, who's really been playing behind and learning behind Tyler Booker, and I think he's done really well. Another name I'm hearing a lot from is Rock Montgomery. I think he is kind of taken up under Jaden Roberts as his mentor, and he's brought him along as well. And as far as the other tackle positions, I believe you got Miles McVay, who's gotten some playing time in some of the scrimmages and practices, and then also Casey Poe, who's another that's gotten some time as well. At that left tackle, I talked about Wilkin Formby being able to play there, but also Naquel Bertram is another name that I'm hearing in the line. But I think we're in good hands on the line. And the reason I say that, I look at one of the things that was said out of the scrimmage, some of our linemen, I think, like Booker, and didn't play as much in the scrimmage, and others got a chance to play. But what I loved hearing was, even with those different combinations on the line, kids that hadn't played together all the time, Coach DeBoer did say that there were no penalties, and that's great. We had a problem with penalties last year. As far as I know, we hadn't had any problem with snaps in practice between any of the centers and any of the quarterbacks. So I'm looking forward to seeing this line. I think this is a part of the offense that you can definitely stick a star beside and say it's an upgrade from last year. I believe we're going to see a much better play out of the line, both in performance, execution on the field, but also in lack of penalties and other things, mistakes that have caused us in the past. So I like this line, like what it's doing, and like the fact that it's going to be a strength this year instead of a weakness. Going into the tight end position, tight ends are also they're linemen, hybrid linemen, and pass catchers, so they're that hybrid position. But in Kalen DeBoer's offense, the tight end gets a lot of balls thrown their way. There's always a tight end in a pattern in one of the patterns where he sends them out. There's always an option to throw to the tight end. And I think right now what we're hearing from Cam and what we're seeing is that C.J. Dupree is really flourishing in this Kalen DeBoer offense. I think he has shown flashes of that last year, but I think he's really flourishing in this Kalen DeBoer offense. And I believe we're going to see some great things out of C.J. Dupree. I think he's the first tight end off the board. I think Robbie Oots has also gotten some talk in the fall camp. More of a blocker, known as more of a blocker than a pass catcher, but I think he can do both. But I think one name that I'm hearing a lot from in this tight end room is Josh Huevas. Now, Josh Huevas transferred in from Washington, very familiar with the Kalen DeBoer offense, and I think he has been a great voice in that tight end room to bring everybody up to speed. And behind them, you got Danny Lewis Jr., which is a great athlete. I think he can really catch some balls, and he's done so in some of the practices, and also Ty Lockwood, a freshman, who's coming along just well as well. I think the tight end room, again, we're going to see explosive play out of them this year, so look for them to make some plays. So I think we're in good hands with the line. We're in good hands with the tight end. I look for those two groups to be the groups that get us started. I believe it all starts up front with our blocking and lack of mistakes and mental preparation. And I believe that we're doing a really great job this year with our tight ends and our offensive line. Look forward to seeing them play a game when they got trot out there against Western Kentucky. Well, welcome back to the DC Capstone Report. Thank you all for tuning in and sticking with us here in our second segment. Let me remind you, you can always catch us here on the podcast on wherever you have social media. We're on X, we're on Facebook. You can go to our website, dccapstonereport.com. You can also catch me on every Tuesday morning at the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9, also on the Martin Houston Radio Network throughout all social media. And again, I want to thank our sponsors for allowing us to be on here today: RollTideBama.com, FreelancePictures.com, and Karen Cottingham Realtor right here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So let's get right to the second segment, where it's what everybody wants to know about. It's the flashy players. We call them the players that get the ball, that make the skill player set. And let's start looking at the quarterback room. I think we have a really, really good quarterback room. I think we're in great hands this year and for years to come in this quarterback room. One thing I love is that Jalen Milroe is the quarterback. Make no bones about it. He's not had to guess or think where he is on the depth chart. And everything that's come out, it's been a solid situation from every position coach, every offensive coordinator, every person that spoke have always spoke about how good Jalen Milroe is doing in this quarterback room. We've seen some great strides he's made. I think he's going to flourish in this Kalen DeBoer offense. I think the only criticism I've heard coming out of camp has been said about all the quarterbacks, and that is Coach DeBoer has a system where there should be someone to get the ball to for a first down. And I think a lot of times the quarterbacks have been trying to make things happen down the field, and they've taken some sacks or ran out of bounds or did some things that lost yardage instead of taking that 5 to 7 yard play that was available in this offense. The way they spread this out, everybody can't be covered. It puts you in mismatches so you can't cover everybody, and that's what's been happening there's been opportunities where quarterbacks have had a chance to throw that check down and they haven't done it. So I think that's the only criticism I've seen anything coming out of the quarterback room all fall camp. In any of the situational plays on 7-on-7 or they've done great. It's when they get into scrimmage format where they've got great defense rushing them that they don't take that check down or don't go to the check down fast enough and try to make that big play. But this offense is full of big plays down the field, and Jalen Milroe can do just that. Looking at backup, I think it's solidified that Ty Simpson is the backup. He did a great job last year. Won us that South Florida game. I think he has come on and done really good. I think he's pushed Jalen Milroe at certain times. What I mean by that, I think iron sharpens iron, and those two guys are, as Coach DeBoer said last week, this whole room, they want the best for each other, but they do compete, and that's good. It in that competition allows them to learn and grow. So I think Ty Simpson has been really good for Jalen Milroe. I think we're set there. If Milroe were to go down, I think Simpson comes in. I don't think we miss a beat as far as being able to run this offense. And then the last two quarterbacks are interchangeable. I think you got Dylan Lonergan and Austin Mack. I think Austin Mack is the tall 6'6" guy that came over from Washington. He knows obviously the offense. I think Dylan Lonergan is the quarterback who has the athletic ability, skill set to play and do, but I think he has a tendency to try to make things happen himself. So I think those are interchangeable at the third team quarterback. You might see the one of them play in a game this year. But I think you're really going to be Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson will be the two that take us in. And I look for Ty Simpson to get more snaps in games this year because I think the philosophy is for Coach DeBoer is to always have somebody ready to come in should your first guy go down. So I think we're solid in the quarterback room. I reiterate, I've not heard anything about any bad exchanges between the quarterback and the center. So I think that's a really good thing this year too. So we really look forward to seeing that and what they can do when they trot out against Western Kentucky. The next room I'll talk about is our running back room. We have one of the most solid running back rooms in the SEC this year. You got Jam Miller, Justice Haynes, Richard Young, Daniel Hill, and then true freshman Kevin Riley. I think we got a really deep running back room and a running back room that's going to really take advantage of this Caleb DeBoer offense. I look for Jam Miller to get the start, Justice Haynes to get as many carries as well. I think they're interchangeable at 1A and 1B. And I think we're in good hands with either one of them. I think we've had, in the scrimmages, we've had some explosive plays from both of them. And they've done nothing to hurt us. I mean, everything, they've been, ball security has been good. Blocking schemes have been well. Picking up the blitzers, they've done a good job with that in all the scrimmages that I can tell. The third running back, I think, is going to be Richard Young. And he might be a name that you hear more and more of through the year. I think there's going to be plenty of opportunities for at least to have three running backs running. And I wouldn't be surprised to have Daniel Hill as a short yardage back on the goal line to see him come in. He's got the bulk to do that. Kind of big, built in a big, tall, muscular frame that we used to see some of the Alabama football running backs have. So I think he'd be good. So I think we're solid at the running back room. Look for Jam Miller and Justice Haynes to kind of carry this room. And I really think we're in good shape overall with our running back room. Then let's move on to the wide receivers. And this has kind of been some of the question marks on what's going to happen with the wide receivers. We had, a transfer that transferred out, be starting for Texas this year. And people have thought, well, we've lost all of our wide receivers. But I don't think that's true at all. I think that's a misnomer. I'm thinking that our wide receiver room is going to be much better than people give us credit for. And the number one reason for that is we've got three players that's got great experience that I think will be the ones that get the start. And that is Jeremy Bernard, who's transferred in from Washington. Heard him speak last week in a media availability. And he has a good head on his shoulders, and I believe he is going to lead this running back room. It seems like he's got reached into a leadership role, even though he's a transfer, because he knew the offense so good, and he's been able to bring that in. So I look for him to start at the X position. Then you got Kendrick Law, who is I think he's just a mismatch in wide receivers. I mean, he's got strength, he's got power, he can block, he's got really a good elusive speed. And matter of fact, all of this running back room, this wide receiver room can fly. down the field. And I think that Kendrick Law will be starting at the Z receiver. And then the H receiver, I'm looking at Kobe Prentice, another player who's solid, catch the ball well, got a lot of good speed, has some experience with Milroe. I look for Jeremy Bernard, Kendrick Law, and Kobe Prentice to start. But I look for the second team to play as well. I believe we're going to be running wide receivers in and out. I'm looking at 6 to 7 wide receivers deep, getting a lot of playing time. So I think the first wide receiver off the bench will be Ryan Williams, the true freshman 5-star. I named him last week as a player to watch, and boy, should you watch him. In the scrimmage, he had a long, deep touchdown pass over 50 yards from Jalen Milroe. He's just doing things, and his prowess grows each week. The stories you hear are greater each week. So I look for Ryan Williams to play and contribute. But right behind him, I look for Caleb Odom. I wouldn't be surprised to see Caleb Odom, the tight end that's moved out to wide receiver, to really get a lot of playing time. He's done really great one-handed catches, 50-50 balls, competing for those. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him play just as much as Ryan Williams does as well. And then the third one off the bench, I think, is Emmanuel Henderson. Is a converted running back to wide receiver. He's done really, really good. I think he's a speedster. He can catch the ball and does a really good job of being a very dependable wide receiver to catch the ball across the middle. So after those 6, I look at Cole Adams, the name I've heard. Talked to him about him last week. They call him Mr. Reliable. He can catch the ball. You got Jaron Hamilton and Amari Jefferson. Behind them, true freshman Rico Scott and Bubba Hampton. I think I'm hearing things from all those wide receivers. It's been good. We're going to miss Jalen Hill, of course. He's injured. I don't see him being able to come back and contribute this year based on what I've seen. But I think that we are very solid in this wide receiver room. So I think our skill players that people have worried about, the wide receivers, I think they're going to be surprised. They're going to be turning some heads this year. And I look for some big explosive plays. I think we're really in good hands with this QB, wide receiver, and running back room to put up a lot of points. I'm looking for us to average more than 44 points a game, which will be a tremendous an accomplishment for this Alabama offensive team. Well, welcome back to the DC Capstone Report. We're so glad you're listening to us this week, and we're coming to our third and final segment, our Players to Watch segment. And let me just remind you again, we are so thankful that you take time to listen to our podcast each and every week. Lance and I really thank you for doing that. Well, let's look at a couple of linemen. I think that I mentioned them already, but Geno Vandermark is a name on the offensive line to remember. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to come in and be able to fill in multiple positions, and he'll be the first one off the bench. And I think Rock Montgomery is another kid that I'm hearing a lot of great things about, that he'll get a chance to come in and contribute that guard position too. So watch for Geno Vandermark and Rock Montgomery to make some plays on the offensive line. And then the 2 guys that I want to highlight on our skill players is number 1, Caleb Odom. I think Caleb Odom, there's no doubt that Ryan Williams is a playmaker, and he is the real deal. He's going to make some headway. He was one of my players to watch last week. But I think just as well, Caleb Odom might be the next player in the wide receiver room that we see great things from. This year, I think he's going to really contend for those 50-50 balls, and I think he's going to make some great plays down the field with his pass-catching ability. He's had a couple of one-handed grabs that have been sensational in practice, so watch for Caleb Odom. And the other guy I think that everybody's sleeping on is Emmanuel Henderson. He may be one of the fastest wide receivers that we've got in the room. So I look for him to make great plays, to play himself into contention for being one of the first guys off the bench, and I think he is. He's one of those top 6 wide receivers that we've got. So I look for him to make some plays. So my players to watch coming out of fall camp on the line of scrimmage, the offensive line is Geno Vandermark and Rock Montgomery. And then in the wide receiver room, Caleb Odom and Emmanuel Henderson. Well, that's it for the DC Capstone Report this week. I want to thank you again for tuning in. Thank my sponsors, RollTideBama.com and FreelancePictures.com. Go out there and look at those websites and get some great Alabama football content. And as always, I want to thank my sponsor, Karen Cottingham Realtor of the Williams Group right here at Keller Williams in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. For all your real estate needs, please reach out to Karen and tell her you heard about her on the podcast here at 205-887-4008. Well, until next time, this is DC with the DC Capstone Report signing off.